Look, I'm going to tell you something that goes against everything you've been taught about relationships. Forget that nice talk about be yourself, be sincere and open, show your feelings. You know why that doesn't work? Because the reality of human relationships doesn't operate in the world of romantic ideals. It operates in the world of power, strategy, and influence. And there's a guy who understood this 500 years ago better than any modern relationship guru, Machiavelli. Yes, that same Machiavelli that everyone knows but few truly understand. He didn't write about love, but his principles about power and influence are more applicable to the dynamics between men and women than any self-help book you'll find out there. Here's the raw truth no one wants to tell you. Women aren't attracted to nice guys who put them on a pedestal. They're attracted to men who understand the real game, who know when to use virtù, that ability to act with strength and intelligence at the right moment. Men who understand that politics guided by reality, not ideals, is what separates those who succeed from those who constantly complain that women don't value nice guys. And I know this sounds controversial. This goes against everything society has shoved down your throat. But think about it. How many guys do you know who do everything right, according to the conventional manual, and still end up in the friend zone, get dumped, or are simply ignored? Now think about that guy who seems to follow no rules, who is unpredictable, who keeps women a little insecure, and always has someone interested in him. Coincidence? No. He understands, even unconsciously, that the end justifies the means when it comes to keeping attraction alive. In this video, I'm going to reveal 7 forbidden influence tactics that come straight from Machiavellian teachings applied to the modern world of relationships. These are strategies that work because they engage with real human nature, not the sugar-coated fantastical version you've been sold. I'll show you how to control perceptions, how to use emotional scarcity as a tool, how to make decisions based on real human nature instead of waiting for things to simply happen. And before you think this is manipulation, let me tell you, influence isn't manipulation when you understand that every human interaction is already a power game. The only difference is that some play consciously and others play as pawns without even knowing they're on the board. So the question isn't, should I play? You're already playing. The question is, am I going to play to win or to lose? If you're tired of being predictable, of being disposable, of being that guy women like but aren't attracted to, then stay until the end of this video. Because what you're going to learn here can completely change the game for you. Before we dive into these challenging topics that will completely change your game, subscribe to the channel now and activate the notification bell, because what you're going to learn here isn't something I want to get lost among millions of random videos you watch and forget. This needs to be recorded. It needs to be always accessible for you to go back to, review, and truly master. Furthermore, those who subscribe now become part of a select group of men who are truly committed to evolving, to escaping mediocrity, and achieving real results. So do it now. It takes 2 seconds, and then come back here with me, because we're going to start the challenge. And if you're subscribed to the channel, we have a bonus in the first pinned comment. You know that guy everyone finds fascinating, but no one can fully describe? Well, he mastered something few understand. The art of controlling perceptions. And look, it's not about lying or pretending to be someone you're not. It's much more sophisticated than that. It's about understanding that people don't fall in love with your complete truth, but with the mysterious and intriguing version you allow them to see. Think about it. When you watch a good suspense film, what keeps you glued to the screen? It's not what you already know, but what's yet to come, right? The same principle applies to relationships. When you show all your cards at once, when you tell your whole story on the first date, when you answer all the questions with exhaustive details, you're basically giving away the ending before the opening credits even roll. And then what? the person simply loses interest because there's nothing left to discover. Machiavelli understood this deeply when he talked about the appearance of virtue. It's not about being false, but about being strategic, about what you reveal and when you reveal it. Now let's be practical here. Imagine she asks you about your past, about your previous relationships, about that difficult period in your life. What do most guys do? They spill everything as if they were in a therapy session, thinking that extreme vulnerability creates connection. Wrong. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, shows us that true connection is built little by little, in layers. So, when she asks something personal, you answer, but not completely. Give a hint, tell a part, leave an air of mystery lingering. For example, if she asks, "Why did you end your last relationship?" Instead of spending the next 20 minutes dissecting every painful detail, you could say something like, "I realized we were on different paths. I learned a lot, but some things are better left in the past." See? You answered, you were honest, but you didn't give away the whole treasure chest. She's left with that feeling that there's more to it, and that my friend is pure magnetism. This is the kind of constant adaptability that keeps the dynamic alive and pulsating. And here's the secret that few realize. Unpredictability doesn't mean being crazy or erratic. It simply means not being that totally predictable guy she can read like an open book after 2 weeks. You know, that guy who always responds at the same speed, who's always available, who always reacts the same way. He's predictable, and predictable is boring, too safe, too comfortable. The calculated use of force here isn't about playing cruel mind games, but about understanding that real human nature values what it can't fully possess. So, sometimes you respond quickly, other times it takes a little longer, sometimes you're super communicative, other times more reserved. It's not inconsistency of character, it's strategic variety that keeps her always a little curious, always a little intrigued, always wanting to discover more about who you really are. And while she's on this journey of discovery, you become increasingly interesting in her mind, because what isn't completely known always seems more valuable than what is already fully mapped out. Have you ever noticed how people value scarce things more? Gold, diamonds, that sold-out concert ticket, it all works on the same principle. And you know what's funny? Most guys do the exact opposite when they like someone. They become a constant stream of attention, affection, and availability. They wake up in the morning and immediately text, "Good morning, beautiful." They reply in 2 seconds. They cancel plans with friends if she makes a peep. And then they get confused when she starts to cool off because they're doing everything right, aren't they? But the thing is, always being available isn't doing everything right. It's slowly killing interest. Machiavelli knew this when he talked about virtù and fortuna. You need the ability to act at the right moment, not all the time. Complete availability kills interest because it transforms something that should be valuable into something common. And nobody gets obsessed with something common, something that's always there, always guaranteed, always available. Imagine a practical situation. You've started dating someone and it's going well. She texts you and you always reply right away. Always, without exception. Do you know what that creates in her mind? Total predictability. She knows that no matter when she contacts you, you'll be there, waiting. There's no challenge, no conquest, no pleasant anxiety of, will he reply? Now imagine a different approach. Sometimes you reply quickly, sometimes it takes a few hours because you're genuinely busy with something important in your life. Sometimes you're super present in a conversation. Other times you have to leave because you have commitments. This isn't playing games, it's simply having your own life and your own loyal armies. That is, your projects, your goals, your priorities that don't revolve 100% around her. And you know what happens? She starts to value more the moments when you are present because they aren't guaranteed. Emotional scarcity as a tool isn't about being cold or distant, it's about not being omnipresent. And here's the key to everything: you need to give and withhold strategically. It's not about never giving attention, affection, or tenderness. It's about creating a rhythm, a dance where she experiences natural emotional highs and lows. For example, you spend an amazing weekend with her. You laugh, connect, create memories. Then, you spend a few days more focused on your projects, less communicative, because you have important decisions to make based on the real human nature that you are a complete being, not half of someone. She misses you, values your presence more. When you meet again, the intensity is there, renewed. This movement of approach and distance creates a dynamic that keeps the attraction alive. Think about what's best. The goal is not to manipulate, but to create a relationship where passion doesn't die in predictable routine. And if you want a concrete example, stop responding to some less important messages for hours while you're at the gym, working, reading that book you've been putting off, or simply living your life. When you do respond, you'll be genuinely present, not just available out of habit. Every relationship has rules, even if no one talks about them openly. The question is, who defines those rules? Most guys enter a dynamic and simply accept the framework the woman establishes without even realizing they're playing a game where they didn't choose the rules. She decides when you see each other, how you communicate, what the tone of the relationship is, and he just follows, thinking he's being flexible and understanding. But here's the stark truth. When you don't define the framework, you're living within someone else's framework, and those who live within someone else's framework never have true respect or admiration. They have tolerance at most. Machiavelli understood this deeply when he said it's better to be feared than loved, but to avoid being hated. It's not about being a tyrant, but about having enough strength to establish your own terms. Defining the rules of the relationship isn't about abusive control. It's about having a backbone and knowing who you are and what you accept or don't accept. Let's be practical here. Imagine she starts that classic game of testing you, arriving late without warning, canceling plans at the last minute, talking to other guys in front of you just to see your reaction, or making an unnecessary drama out of some nonsense. Most guys either explode with jealousy and insecurity or swallow it all silently for fear of losing her. Both reactions, totally predictable and frankly weak. A policy guided by reality, not ideals, shows you another way. You respond with calm detachment to the tests. For example, she cancels the date at the last minute for no serious reason. You simply say, "No problem, see you next time," and go do something else fun with your time. No drama, no trying to convince her, no showing that it ruined your day. Do you know what that communicates? That you're not desperate for her presence, that you have your own life, and that she needs to respect your time if she wants to be a part of it. This is calculated use of force, emotional and psychological force, not aggression. And here's the detail that changes everything. When you establish the framework from the beginning, you're actually creating a healthier relationship for both of you. Because look, if you accept any behavior, any disrespect, any test she wants to apply, you're not being nice, you're being a doormat. And nobody respects a doormat, much less falls in love with one. So from the start, you make it clear through actions, not words, what your standards are. For example, do you value punctuality? Then, if she's constantly late, you don't just stand there waiting like a fool. You go out, do your things, and she learns that her time has value. You don't tolerate jealousy games. Then when she tries to provoke you, you maintain that calm demeanor of someone who has the appearance of virtue, but inside is solidly anchored in their principles. And here's something you can do tomorrow. The next time she suggests a plan, Instead of accepting it immediately, say, "Let me check my schedule," and confirm. Even if you don't have anything planned, this establishes that you have priorities and a structured life. Small actions like this build a framework where you're not the guy who revolves around her. You're the guy who has his own axis, and she can revolve along with him if she wants. There's a huge misunderstanding going around about what it means to be vulnerable. Guys hear that women like vulnerable men and go around unloading all their emotional baggage on the first date, crying about ex-girlfriends, complaining about life, exposing every wound and insecurity as if that were attractive. And then they get confused when she disappears. Look, vulnerability isn't uncontrolled weakness. It's strength under control. It's having the ability to open up, but strategically choosing when and how to do it. Machiavelli didn't preach that you should be an emotionless robot, but that you should have virtue, that ability to act according to the situation. Showing vulnerability only at chosen moments is what separates magnetic men from needy guys. Because when you open up all the time, your vulnerability loses all its impact, all its meaning, all the special intimacy it should create. Imagine a real-life situation. You're having a deep conversation, a connection has already been established, and she shares something personal with you. This is the moment, not before, not gratuitously, but when there's reciprocity and context. You can then share something true about yourself, something that shows you're human, that you've faced challenges, that you have layers beyond that confident persona. It could be about how you overcame a difficult moment in your life, about a real fear you have, or about something that marked you. But do you see the difference? You're not complaining or seeking validation. You're sharing an authentic part of who you are in a moment where it creates a real connection. For example, if she tells you about the difficulties in her family relationship, instead of just listening and giving generic advice, you could say, "I understand that. When my father got sick a few years ago, I realized how much I had taken family relationships for granted. It was one of the hardest times, but it taught me to value every moment." See? You were real. You were human. But you weren't a well of emotional neediness. And here's the balance that few achieve. You need to be strong and human at the same time. It's not about choosing one or the other. It's about calibrating when to show each side. Think of it this way. You're like an iceberg. Most of your depth, your struggles, your fears, lies below the surface. But every now and then, in specific and significant moments, you allow her to see a little more of what's underneath. This creates a sense of privilege in her, that she's seeing something that not everyone sees. Decisions based on real human nature show us that people value what they have to work a little for. So when you save your deepest vulnerabilities for truly intimate moments, when you're not a completely open book from day one, you're creating layers of intimacy that she'll want to explore. And look, you can practice this today. The next time someone asks, "How are you?" instead of unloading all your problems, answer genuinely, but with restraint. If you're facing something difficult, you can say, "I'm dealing with some things, but moving forward." This shows that you're real, but not emotionally dependent on everyone around you. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately felt the heavy or light energy without anyone saying a word? Well, there's an invisible emotional atmosphere in every environment, and most people simply react to it without realizing it. But the guys who really understand the game, they don't react to the atmosphere. They create the atmosphere. They shape the emotional climate in which it lives, and that's a silent and profound power that few master. We're not talking about cheap manipulation, but genuine emotional leadership. When you master your own emotional state and don't let yourself be swept away by its mood swings, you automatically become the anchor of the relationship. And you know what's fascinating? People naturally gravitate towards those who have emotional stability, because in the internal chaos that most people live in, finding someone centered is like finding an oasis in the desert. Machiavelli spoke of the appearance of virtue, but here we're talking about something even deeper, the real ability to influence her mood and decisions simply by being present and in control of your own state. Now let's get down to business. How does this work in practice? Imagine you two made plans to go out and she arrives in a bad mood, complaining about everything. The traffic, work, that annoying friend. The common reaction? The guy either desperately tries to fix everything, becoming an instant therapist, or absorbs that bad energy and also gets grumpy. Both responses? Weak. The right move is to maintain your own unwavering emotional state. You listen with empathy, but don't get caught up in the drama. You maintain a light energy, make a comment that brings perspective, or even a subtle joke that diffuses the tension. For example, she's complaining that her day was awful. You could say something like, "Looks like the universe is testing you today, huh? Well, now you're here, away from all that chaos. Let's make this night worthwhile." See, you acknowledged her feelings, but didn't enter the negative spiral. Instead, you offered a new emotional direction. This is politics guided by reality, not by ideals. You're working with what is, but steering towards where you want to go. And here's the secret that transforms everything. When you consistently become the person who uplifts her emotional state, you become psychologically indispensable. She begins to associate being with you with feeling better, lighter, more alive. This doesn't happen through pretty words or empty promises. It happens through your constant and unwavering presence. You might be having the worst day of your life, but when you're with her, you choose to show that centered and strong version of yourself. It's not about pretending, it's about constant adaptability and calculated use of emotional strength. For example, let's say you just received bad news at work. You have two options: arrive and unload all that frustration on her, or process it yourself first, compose yourself, and then show up whole. The second option isn't dishonesty, it's emotional maturity. And look, you can practice this in smaller situations. The next time something annoying happens, traffic, a late bill, anything, instead of bringing that negative energy into the conversation with her, take a deep breath, consciously change your state, and show up as the best version of yourself. In time, she will realize that you are that reliable constant in a world full of instability. Do you know what the #1 killer of passion in relationships is? It's not distance, it's not incompatibility, it's not even routine. It's absolute certainty. When she's completely certain that you're completely in love, completely available, completely won over, something dies inside her. It may seem contradictory, but think about it. Which series gets you more hooked? The one you already know exactly how it's going to end, or the one that keeps you on the edge of your seat, not knowing what comes next? Real human nature is driven by curiosity, by challenge, by that delicious tension of what now? Certainty kills desire because it removes all the tension, all the mystery, all that electric energy that made her heart race when she thought of you. Machiavelli understood that virtù and fortuna need to go hand in hand. You need to have skill, but also leave room for the unpredictable, for that which keeps things interesting and alive. Now, before you misunderstand, we're not talking about cheating, lying, or cruelly playing with her feelings. We're talking about something much more subtle and in fact more honest, not revealing all your cards, not declaring your undying love on the third date, not acting like she's the only thing that matters in your life. Plant small seeds of doubt, not doubt about your loyalty or character, but about how secure she is. For example, she sends that classic message, "Are you thinking about me?" And instead of replying with, "Yes, all the time, you're everything to me," you could say something like, "I was focused on something here, but now I am." Simple, direct, honest, but not desperate. Or when she asks about your future, instead of outlining the next 10 years in detail, you could say something like, "I'm really enjoying this. Let's see where we go." It's not a lie. It's not deceitful. It's simply not giving complete certainty about something that, let's face it, nobody is completely certain about anyway. And here's where things get really interesting. Uncertainty only works when it comes from a place of abundance, not scarcity. If you create uncertainty because you're insecure, needy, and afraid of commitment, she'll sense it and leave. But if you create a slight uncertainty because you genuinely have a rich life, your own loyal armies, your projects, your passions, your goals, then that becomes attractive. For example, do you have an important project at work that consumes your time and energy? Great, don't hide it. Let her realize that there are times when your attention is elsewhere, when she's not the center of your universe. Or do you have hobbies, friends, activities that fulfill you? Keep that alive. Don't abandon everything for her. This naturally creates that feeling that, although you like her very much, you don't desperately need her to exist. And this subtle difference? It makes perfect sense when we think about the end justifying the means. The goal isn't to make her suffer, but to keep alive that flame that makes her desire you, value you, want you more and more. You can start applying this today. The next time you're together and everything is amazing, don't say, "I never want this to end." Instead, simply enjoy the moment intensely, but maintain that aura that you are complete with or without it. Every woman will test you at some point, not out of malice, but because she needs to know if you're truly solid or just a facade. She'll create situations of emotional pressure, a drama here, a demand there, a provocation over there, all to see if you maintain your composure or crumble like a sandcastle. And here's the mistake most guys make. They give in to every pressure, agree to every demand, bend to every emotional blackmail, thinking that this will win her over. But you know what really happens? She loses respect. Because deep down, even if she doesn't consciously admit it, she wants a man with a backbone who isn't controlled by her emotional storms. Machiavelli knew this when he said it's better to be feared than loved, not in the sense of causing fear, but of having that solid presence that commands natural respect. Maintaining composure when provoked isn't coldness, it's strength. It's you saying, without words, that you won't dance to her tune every time she pushes a button. Let's get real. She's having a bad day and decides to take it out on you. She says a lot of hurtful things, criticizes your decisions, questions where you were or who you were talking to. What does the average guy do? He goes into total defense mode, frantically justifies himself, apologizes for things he didn't even do, becomes an emotional pretzel trying to calm her down. And then what? She's not satisfied. She gets even more irritated because subconsciously she sees weakness. The right move. You maintain that unwavering calm. You can say something like, "Look, I understand you're upset, but I'm not going to accept being treated like this. When you want to talk for real, I'm here." And then what? You withdraw. Not dramatically, not slamming doors, but with the quiet dignity of someone who doesn't let her control their emotional state. This is politics guided by reality, not by ideals. You're not reacting to her emotional script. You're writing your own. And here's something interesting. When you don't submit to her emotional demands, two things happen. First, she respects you more because you've shown that you have boundaries, that you're not an emotional doormat. Second, and this is crucial, you establish a healthier communication pattern in the relationship. Because if you give in to every drama, every test, every emotional manipulation, you're teaching her that this is the effective way to deal with you. But when you maintain your position with that calm firmness, you teach her that, to have your attention and your time, she needs to treat you with respect. For example, she threatens to break up because you can't see her on a specific day. Instead of panicking and canceling your plans, you simply say, "I understand if you want that, but I'm not going to change my plans every time you get upset. The decision is yours." Sounds risky? It is. But here's the truth. Decisions based on real human nature show that people value those who aren't afraid of losing them, because that demonstrates genuine self-confidence. And you can start small. The next time she makes an emotionally charged request, "If you really love me, you would do this." Don't take the bait. Breathe, stay calm, and respond from your center, not from your need for her approval. There's a huge difference between being comfortable and being unforgettable. The comfortable guy is the one she likes having around, but who doesn't evoke anything in her. No butterflies in her stomach, no pleasant anxiety, no intensity that makes her heart race. He's like an old sofa, functional, safe, but nothing exciting. Now, the unforgettable guy. That's the one who moves her in a way that no one else can. He becomes her main psychological anchor, not because he's always there being cute, but because he creates intense emotional experiences that are etched in her memory. And look, this isn't about being toxic or creating unnecessary drama. It's about understanding that human beings are driven by strong emotions, not by lukewarmness. Machiavelli spoke of virtù, this capacity to act with intensity and purpose at the right moment. You need to be that guy whose face appears when she closes her eyes, because you moved her in a way that left a mark. But how do you do this in practice without becoming an unstable madman? This is where the art of controlled emotional oscillation comes in. You create moments of pure connection and intensity. That night you talked until 4 in the morning, that spontaneous adventure you had, that intimate moment where she felt you were one. And then you step back a little, become more distant, more focused on your own things, not out of malice, but because you have your own loyal armies, your life, your projects, your personal battles. She experiences the high of having you completely present and intense, and then experiences the low of your partial absence. And you know what that does? It creates contrast, and contrast is what makes experiences memorable. For example, you spend an incredible Sunday with her. You do something different. You are totally present, no cell phone, no distractions. Then, in the following days, you are more distant, busier. When you see each other again, that intensity returns, and she feels it even more strongly because she experienced the absence. And here's what separates this from cheap manipulation. You're genuinely living a rich and fulfilling life, not pretending to be busy. You truly have passions, projects, and goals that consume you. So when you're with her, you're truly present, creating those high points she'll never forget. And when you're away, you're truly focused on building your life, not just hiding to play games. Calculated use of force means you understand that your presence needs to be intense enough to leave a mark, but not constant enough to become routine. Think of it this way. You want to be like that song she can't get out of her head, not that song that plays in the elevator and nobody even notices. And here's a practical example you can implement now. Plan a date that's genuinely memorable. It doesn't have to be expensive, but it needs to be different. It could be taking her to see the sunset in a place nobody knows, cooking a special meal together, or creating a totally unexpected themed night. After this high-intensity moment, give her space. Don't disappear, but become less available. When she reaches out to you, you respond, but with the energy of someone busy building something important. This makes her associate you not with predictable comfort, but with emotional intensity, and intensity is addictive. Here's something most people don't realize. We don't form our opinions in a vacuum. We are massively influenced by what others think, say, and feel about someone. That's why a guy can be average, but if everyone around him treats him like he's amazing, suddenly he becomes amazing in her eyes. It's the same principle as when you see a crowded restaurant. You automatically assume the food must be good even without having tasted it. That's social proof in action, and smart guys use others' perception to their advantage. You don't need to spend all your time trying to convince her that you're valuable. If the environment around her already communicates that, the job is done. Machiavelli knew that the appearance of virtue often matters as much as actual virtue. So, if everyone treats you with respect, if you're well regarded socially, if people naturally gravitate towards you, she'll absorb all of that and value you much more. Let's break this down practically. Imagine you go to a social event. It could be a barbecue with friends, a happy hour, any situation where there are other people. The average guy focuses all his attention on her, clings to her, seems a bit socially lost, as if she were the only person who matters there. So what? He seems needy, lacking his own social value. Now imagine the opposite. You arrive and naturally interact with everyone. People greet you warmly. You have those funny stories that make people laugh. Other guys respect you. Other women find you interesting. You're not being fake or showing off. You genuinely have solid social connections because you've invested in building real relationships. She observes all this and, even without consciously realizing it, begins to see you in a different light. Think about the concept of politics guided by reality, not by ideals. The reality is that she will value much more the guy that others also value than the guy that only she knows and who is emotionally dependent only on her. And here's the strategic move that few understand. Let the environment convince her for you. Instead of trying to impress her directly with your achievements, your talents, your qualities, let her discover them through other people. For example, you're with friends and someone naturally mentions that amazing project you're working on, or that time you significantly helped someone, or that impressive hobby you have. When it comes from others, it carries 10 times more weight than if it came from you. This is calculated use of social power. You're not bragging, but you're also not hiding your worth. You simply live in a way that naturally generates respect and admiration from the people around you. And here's something you can do this week. Invest time in strengthening your friendships and genuine social connections. Invite that friend to do something fun. Participate in that group activity you've been putting off. Show up at that event where you can meet interesting people. When she sees you interacting naturally in a social environment where you are respected and valued, where you have your own loyal armies, your tribe, your circle, your connections, she will realize that you're not just a nice guy, you're someone others recognize as valuable. And that, my friend, completely changes the game. Do you know one of the most powerful skills you can develop? Making someone believe they had an idea when, in reality, you planted that seed so subtly they didn't even notice. Most guys try to control situations through direct commands, insistent arguments, or pressure, and this generates natural resistance, because nobody likes to feel manipulated or forced into something. But when she feels the decision came from her, that it was her insight, that it was her choice, then there's no resistance, only genuine commitment. Machiavelli understood this deeply when he spoke about virtù, the ability to influence without appearing to influence. Subtle suggestions, instead of direct commands, are the difference between a guy who generates resentment and a guy who generates admiration. Because in the end, she feels in control, even when you gently guided her. Let's look at practical situations, because that's where theory becomes real power. Let's say you want her to meet your family, but you know that if you simply say, "Let's go to my house and meet my parents," she might feel pressured and resist. So you approach it differently. In a casual moment, you mention how your mother made that amazing dish over the weekend, or tell a funny story about your brother. A few days later, you mention that barbecue you're having at your house. You don't invite her directly, but you leave the information there planted. Over time, she herself will show curiosity. "So, when is this barbecue? Can I go?" There you go. She's made the decision to meet your family, when in reality, you orchestrated the whole situation. Or another example, you want her to change a certain behavior that bothers you, but you know that if you talk to her directly, it will turn into a fight. So you use the mirroring technique. You start telling a story about a friend who went through a similar situation, how it affected his relationship and how he resolved it. You don't accuse, you don't pressure, you just plant the seed. Days later, she might come back with the change herself, thinking it was her idea. And here's the deepest level of this skill. Making her believe the decision was hers isn't about deception. It's about understanding that decisions based on real human nature work best when the person feels autonomous. People fiercely defend what they believe they freely chose. So when you want her to commit more to the relationship, instead of demanding or pressuring, you create situations where she naturally invests more. For example, you casually mention that you're going to start taking dance classes or learn to cook better or any interesting activity. You don't invite her, you just share. Natural curiosity might make her ask if she can join you. There you go. Now she's investing time in a joint activity and it was her idea. Or you talk about that incredible trip you're planning. Describe the places, the experience. You don't say, let's go together. You just paint the picture. If she expresses interest in going, you consider it, but not as if you're desperate for her company. And here's something you can practice today. The next time you want her to do something, don't ask directly. Plant the idea through stories, examples, or simply by sharing your own experiences and plans. Let the seed grow naturally in her mind. When she comes up with the suggestion, you simply agree, as if it were a great idea, which, let's face it, it always was. The human brain works by comparison, not by absolute values. A sunny day seems even better after a week of rain. A delicious meal has more impact when you're hungry. And a calm, confident guy seems extraordinary when she's used to chaos and unpredictability. This is where one of the most powerful, yet least understood tactics comes in, creating psychological dependence through contrast. You alternate between calm and security and calculated unpredictability. It's not about being bipolar or unstable. It's about creating a varied emotional experience where you become the only constant in a sea of uncertainties. Machiavelli spoke of virtù and fortuna, about how you need to be skillful and also know how to work with the unpredictable. When you master this dance between being the safe harbor and being the wind that stirs the waters, you become psychologically irreplaceable. Because she never knows exactly what to expect, but she knows she can't imagine life without you in it. Let's understand how this works in real life, because theory without application is just pretty talk. Imagine that for a few weeks, you are that solid and constant presence. You're there, you're attentive, predictable in the best sense. She feels safe. And then, suddenly, you become more distant, more focused on yourself, less emotionally available. Not out of drama, but because you're truly immersed in something important, a project, a goal, a personal phase. She feels the change, that discomfort of not having your complete attention. And you know what happens? She starts to value even more the moments when you are present. When you return with that intensity, when you give your full attention again, it's like water in the desert for her. This contrast between having you and missing you creates an emotional dependence where you become the thermostat of her emotional life. For example, you spend a period being super communicative, responding quickly, constantly making plans. Then you naturally slow down. You don't disappear, but you become busier, more focused on yourself. When you return to more intense communication, she feels it with an intensity amplified precisely because of the contrast. And here's where it gets really powerful. When you are the source of both stability and excitement, both comfort and uncertainty, you fulfill opposing emotional needs she has. Every human being wants security and adventure, wants predictability and surprise, wants comfort and challenge. Most guys offer only one side. Either they are totally predictable and boring, or they are completely chaotic and unstable. But when you master the balance, You become whole in her perception. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, shows us that people don't know what they really want until they experience it. So you offer both. At times, you are that guy she can count on, solid, present, reliable. At others, you are that intriguing guy, focused on your own goals, a little distant, maintaining that air of mystery. And here's something you can start implementing. Identify what phase you're in with her. Have you been too predictable and constant? So inject a little unpredictability, cancel a plan with a good reason, stay a few days further away, show that you have priorities beyond her. Have you been too distant and unpredictable? Then surprise her with a moment of total presence, deep connection, and emotional security. This game of contrast, when done with calculated use of force and not cruelty, transforms you from just another guy in her life into the guy she simply can't replace. Attention is the most valuable currency of the 21st century, but most people give it away for free as if it were worthless, especially when they like someone. Then it becomes a constant tap of attention, messages at any hour, 24/7 availability, as if nothing else is happening in their lives. And you know what that does? It completely devalues your presence. Because look, apply the principle of scarcity to anything in this world, and it automatically becomes more valuable. Gold is valuable because it's rare. Diamonds are expensive because they are scarce, and your attention, it should work exactly the same way. When you are always available, always responding, always there, you are basically saying that your time has no value, that whatever they need takes priority over everything else in your life. And that's not attractive, it's desperate. Machiavelli spoke about the end justifying the means, and the end here is to keep the value of your presence high, and the means is to make that presence something that needs to be earned, not guaranteed. Let's translate this into concrete actions, because that's where the game really changes. She texts you at 3 in the afternoon while you're working on an important project. The average guy drops everything and replies immediately. After all, he doesn't want to keep her waiting. But what if you simply don't do that? What if you finish what you're doing, which takes 2 or 3 hours, and only then reply? Not because you're playing games, but because you genuinely have priorities and a structured life where not everything revolves around her. Your availability should seem earned, not guaranteed. Another practical example. She wants to see you, but you already have plans. It could be a workout at the gym. It could be that book you're reading. It could simply be some alone time to process your thoughts. Instead of canceling everything immediately, you say, "It's not going to happen today, but we'll see each other on a specific day." Simple as that. You're not being rude or rejecting her. You're just demonstrating that your time is valuable and you don't rearrange your entire life every time she shows up. And here's what truly separates men of value from ordinary guys: their own loyal armies. This means having things in your life that are important to you independently of her. Your professional projects, your hobbies, your personal development, your friends, your physical and mental health. When you have these solid pillars, you don't need to pretend to be busy. You are genuinely busy building a rich life. And when you give her attention, that attention comes from a place of choice, not necessity. For example, you are focused on learning a new skill. It could be a language, a musical instrument, programming, woodworking, anything that adds value to your life. You dedicate a few hours of your day to it, in a non-negotiable way. When she realizes that there are things in your life that have this level of commitment, she understands that having your attention is a privilege, not a right. And here's something you can implement immediately. Establish blocks of time where you are completely unavailable. It could be from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. you are focused on work or study without distractions. It could be between 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. that you're training completely disconnected. Communicate this naturally, not as a rigid rule, but as part of your routine, as someone who makes decisions based on the real human nature that you need to take care of yourself and your goals before being available to anyone else. Most people have a deep fear of silence. When that uncomfortable pause arises in a conversation, they rush to fill the space with words, anything to cover the void. And when there's a conflict, tension, and undefined situation, then the desperation is even greater. They rush to resolve it, to explain, to fill that heavy silence with justifications and words that, more often than not, only worsen the situation. But the guys who really understand the game, they know that silence is one of the most powerful weapons that exist. Because when you say nothing, when you simply withdraw or remain in strategic silence, you are forcing the other person to fill that void with their own thoughts, fears, and insecurities. Use strategic omission, and you will see how people reveal much more about themselves trying to break the silence than you would ever discover by asking directly. Machiavelli understood that sometimes the appearance of virtue lies precisely in what you don't do, in what you don't say, letting others interpret and project it. Let's look at real-life situations where this translates into tangible power. She does something that bothers you. It could be a disrespectful comment, inappropriate behavior, anything that crosses your boundaries. What does the average guy do? He explodes immediately or starts explaining why it was wrong, trying to educate her like a child. But what's the most effective move? Silence. You simply stay quiet. That heavy and meaningful silence that communicates much more than any speech. She notices the change in your energy, feels the weight of your disapproval without you having said a word. And you know what happens. She starts to fill the void, starts to question herself, to try to understand what happened, possibly even to apologize without you having asked. Force her to fill the void with her insecurities, and you'll see how infinitely more powerful that is than any direct confrontation. Another example, you have an argument, and she expects you to chase after her, to resolve it, to apologize even when it wasn't entirely your fault. Instead, you simply give her space. He doesn't text, he doesn't call, he doesn't try to force a reconciliation. This silence forces her to process her own part in the situation, to feel his absence, to question whether she overreacted. And here's the most refined level of this skill. Strategic silence isn't about being passive-aggressive or creating unnecessary suffering. It's about understanding that the calculated use of force sometimes means using no force at all, simply letting the void do the work. For example, she sends you that message full of drama or accusation. Every instinct tells you to respond immediately, defend yourself, explain, resolve things. But what if you simply don't respond for a few hours? Let her simmer in what she sent. Let her really think about what she said. When you finally respond, your response carries much more weight because it came after a significant pause. Or an even more subtle situation. You're talking and she asks a manipulative question, one of those trap questions like, "Do you love me more than anything?" Or, "Am I the most beautiful woman you've ever seen?" Instead of falling into the trap of giving a desperate answer or lying, you can simply smile and remain silent for a few seconds, maintaining eye contact. That silence says, "I'm not going to play this game without you having to say a word." And here's something you can practice today. The next time a conflict or tension arises, resist the urge to resolve everything immediately with words. Give it space, remain silent, let it process, let the emptiness do its work. You'll be surprised how politics guided by reality, not ideals, works here. In reality, people resolve things much better when they have space to process than when they are bombarded with words and explanations. Most guys try to enter her world, adapting to her tastes, her friends, the places she frequents, basically molding their own lives around hers. And then they're surprised when she loses interest, because he's become just another satellite orbiting her instead of a planet with its own gravity. But the guys who really understand the game do the opposite. They build a world so interesting, so rich, so full of purpose that she naturally wants to be a part of it. Create an irresistible life, and you'll never have to chase anyone again. People will want to get close because what you've built is magnetic. Machiavelli talked about having your own loyal armies. And in this context, it means having your own mission, your own goals, your own vision of life that is greater than any relationship. When you have that, when you're really building something meaningful, you don't need to convince anyone of your worth. Your worth is evident in the life you live. Let's break down what it means to build this irresistible world. We're not talking about flaunting wealth or pretending to be someone you're not. We're talking about genuinely investing in yourself so that your life becomes interesting and full of purpose. For example, you decide to improve your physical health, not because you want to impress anyone, but because it's important to you. You start training seriously, eating better, taking care of your body. The result? You become more confident, more energized, more attractive, or you decide to develop a new skill. You learn to cook sophisticated dishes, study photography, start playing an instrument. Suddenly, you have interesting hobbies that add value to your life and, consequently, make you more interesting. Making her fit into your world means that when you see each other, she's entering your universe. You take her to that hidden restaurant you discovered, or to that cultural event you were interested in, or introduce her to your friends who are interesting and successful people. She's not pulling you into her life, she's being pulled into yours because that's where the interesting things happen. And here's where it becomes truly transformative. When you build a rich life, you automatically become selective about who you let into it. Because look, you've worked hard to create something valuable. Your projects, your connections, your experiences, your peace of mind. You're not going to let just anyone in and mess that up. So naturally you set standards. You choose who deserves access to your world. And you know what that communicates? Extremely high value. Decisions based on real human nature show us that people value what they can't easily have. When they realize that your world is selective, that you don't open the doors to just anyone, that being part of your life is an earned privilege, they will want even more to enter and remain there. For example, you have a well-established morning routine. You wake up early, meditate or exercise. You have that ritual that puts you in the right state to master the day. That's non-negotiable, even when you're dating someone. They learn that they can't simply mess up your system, your structure. If they want to be part of it, they need to either respect it or adapt. Either you have a quality social circle, friends who are ambitious, who are growing, who add value. When you introduce her to that world, she realizes the level at which you operate. And look what you can do this week. Identify an area of your life that is stagnant and invest seriously in it. It could be starting that online course that will develop your career. It could be finally organizing and decorating your space in a way that you are proud of. It could be dedicating yourself to a personal project that excites you. Build something real. Create a world where you yourself want to live, and naturally, she will want to be there too. There's a powerful psychological principle that most people are unaware of. We value what we invest in. It's not the other way around. It's not, I value it, therefore I invest in it. It's, I invested in it, therefore I value it. The more she invests in you, time, energy, emotional effort, resources, the more attached she becomes, because the human brain doesn't like to admit it invested in something worthless. Use the sunk cost fallacy to your advantage. The more she puts into the relationship, the harder it will be for her to simply leave, because that would mean admitting that all that investment was in vain. Machiavelli understood that the end justifies the means, and in this case, The end is not to imprison her, but to create a dynamic where she is genuinely committed because she chose to invest, not because you forced her. And look how interesting. The people who receive everything for free, without effort, without investment, are precisely those who least value what they have. But how do you do this without seeming selfish or manipulative? That's where subtlety comes in. You don't directly ask her to invest. You create situations where investment happens naturally. For example, you're planning something together and you let her make some decisions and take some actions. It could be her choosing the restaurant, she invested time researching, her buying the tickets, she invested money, her organizing part of the date, she invested energy. Each of these small actions is a brick building her attachment to you and the relationship. Or an even more subtle situation, you mention that you're having a problem or challenge. Nothing dramatic, but something real. She offers to help, gives advice, invests emotionally in your situation. You didn't ask directly, but she chose to invest, and you know what happens in her brain. I helped him, I cared, I invested energy in it. Therefore, he must be important to me. That's how real human psychology works, following a policy guided by reality, not by ideals of how we think things should work. And here's where it becomes even more strategic. You create a growing ladder of investment. In the beginning, her investments are small and easy, answering your messages, accepting an invitation to go out. But over time, you naturally allow her to invest more. Maybe she'll cook for you. Maybe she'll introduce you to her friends. Maybe she'll change something in her routine to accommodate you. Each level of investment makes her more committed to the relationship, because the deeper you dig a hole, the harder it is to get out. And we're not talking about exploitation. We're talking about natural reciprocity where both invest, but you're aware of the process while she's just experiencing it. For example, you have an important project, and she offers to help in some way. It could be reading something you wrote, giving her opinion on a decision, or simply being emotional support. You accept this help, value it, and thank her. She invested. Now she has skin in the game, as they say. Or you're going through a challenging phase, and she chooses to be present, supports you, invests time and emotional energy. Every minute she dedicates to this is a minute that binds her more to you, because calculated use of force here means understanding that you don't need to do all the work of maintaining the relationship. Let her invest in it too. And here's something practical you can implement. The next time you're planning something, instead of you doing everything, distribute responsibilities. You choose the place, I'll choose the activity later. You take care of this part, I'll take care of that. Small investments that accumulated create a deep psychological commitment. And if you want to go even deeper, read about the concept of escalating commitment in psychology. Books like Robert Cialdini's Influence explore this masterfully. Here's a mistake many guys make. They think that maintaining control means never yielding, never letting her win at anything, always being in absolute command of everything. And you know what happens? The relationship becomes a battlefield where she's constantly fighting, constantly frustrated, constantly feeling voiceless. And then what? She simply leaves because nobody can stand living under an emotional dictatorship. But the smart guys, the ones who really understand strategy, they know to allow small victories in low-risk areas while maintaining ultimate control over the things that really matter. It's like a good chess player sacrificing pawns to protect the king. You let her win some battles to ensure you win the war. Machiavelli understood this deeply when he talked about the appearance of virtue. Sometimes you need to appear to be yielding, when in reality you're just being strategic about where it really matters to have control. Let's look at practical examples, because that's where this tactic comes to life. She wants to choose the movie you're going to watch, let her choose. She wants to decide which restaurant you're going to, sure, let her decide. These are low-risk victories. Ultimately, they don't fundamentally change anything in the power dynamic of the relationship. But meanwhile, in the things that really matter, how you spend your time during the week, your career priorities, your friendships, your core values, that's where you maintain absolute control. She feels she has a voice in the relationship because you allow these small victories, but the larger structure, the big picture, continues to be defined by you. For example, she complains that you don't talk enough during the day. Instead of resisting completely, you give in a little. Maybe you send an extra message in the middle of the day or make a quick call at night. A small victory for her, but control over your availability and your time remains with you. You haven't become that guy who's on WhatsApp all day. You've just made a strategic adjustment that keeps her satisfied without compromising your freedom. And here's the brilliant move of this approach. When you give these controlled victories, you're doing two things simultaneously. First, you're reducing her resistance in areas where you really need to maintain control because she doesn't feel like she's losing everything. Second, you're creating a perception that you're reasonable, flexible, that you listen to her, and that's valuable. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, shows us that relationships aren't about total dominance, but about strategic influence. So you choose your battles wisely. She wants you to meet that annoying friend of hers. Okay, you go, spend a few hours, show goodwill. Small victory for her. But when she wants you to abandon that hobby that's important to you or to stop seeing your friends so often, then you stand your ground firmly. Calculated use of force means knowing when to be flexible and when to be inflexible. Here's an example you can apply today. Identify 3 low-risk areas where you can let her have control. It could be choosing decor in a shared space, where you'll go next weekend, or which series you'll start watching together. Let her win in these areas genuinely, not condescendingly. But simultaneously, identify 3 non-negotiable areas where you maintain total control. It could be your workout time, your nights out with friends, or your personal projects. And in these areas, you don't give in, no matter how much she pressures you. Decisions based on real human nature show that when people feel they have some victories, they stop fighting so intensely for total control. The human brain works through associations. You hear that song and immediately go back to a specific moment in your life. You smell a scent and remember your grandmother's house. You see a place and relive an intense memory. These emotional anchors are incredibly powerful, and most people have no idea how to use them strategically. But when you understand this mechanism, you can create moments of intense emotion that become permanently associated with you in her mind. Associate emotional ecstasy with yourself, and she'll want you close whenever she needs that feeling. It's not about being the comfortable guy she tolerates. It's about being the guy who awakens emotions in her that no one else can. Machiavelli spoke of virtù, of having that capacity to act with intensity and purpose. And here, intensity is the key word. You need to create experiences, not just spend time together. Let's talk about real-life situations where you can implement this. Most guys take girls out to dinner, to the movies, those completely predictable and lukewarm things that don't create any lasting memories. But what if you took her to do something that generates real emotion? It could be a physical adventure, rock climbing, skydiving, anything that pumps adrenaline. Her brain doesn't differentiate very well between fear, excitement, and attraction, so that adrenaline rush becomes associated with you. Or it could be something emotionally impactful, that 3 a.m. conversation where you shared deep vulnerabilities, that moment where you made her laugh so hard she cried, that instant of connection so strong that time seemed to stand still. Create moments of intense emotion and you become unforgettable. For example, instead of just another ordinary dinner, you plan a night where you go somewhere unexpected. It could be watching the sunrise from the top of a mountain. It could be a spontaneous trip to a nearby city without defined plans. It could be cooking a complex meal together while drinking wine and talking about dreams and fears. And here's the advanced level of this technique. You don't create these anchors just once. You strategically reinforce them over time. Each intense experience with you strengthens the association between you and powerful emotions. She begins to understand, even unconsciously, that your presence means truly living, truly feeling, truly being alive. And you know what that does. When you're not around, her life seems duller, more ordinary, emptier. Not because she's an empty person, but because you've raised the bar of emotional intensity so high that everything else seems pale in comparison. Politics, guided by reality, not ideals, shows us that people become addicted to how you make them feel, not what you say or promise. So you focus on creating feelings, not talking about feelings. For example, you notice she loves music. Instead of just passively listening to music together, you create an experience. Take her to an intimate concert of a band she likes, or to karaoke where you sing together without shame, or you even learn to play her favorite song on the guitar. Each of these experiences creates a strong emotional anchor, or you discover she has a specific dream, something she's always wanted to do but never did. You make it a reality. It could be something simple like stargazing in a place without light pollution, or something more elaborate like learning to salsa dance together. And here's something you can do this week. Plan an experience, just one, that is genuinely different and emotionally intense. It doesn't have to be expensive or complicated, it just needs to evoke strong emotions. And when you're in that moment, be completely present. No cell phone, no distractions, totally immersed. Because calculated use of force here means investing all your emotional energy in creating that perfect moment she'll never forget. And when she relives that memory weeks or months later, you'll be at the center of it, permanently associated with that incredible feeling. There's an inconvenient truth about human nature that few understand. We always want more of what's about to end. That last slice of pizza seems tastier. The last days of vacation seem more intense. And the guy who knows when to leave? He stays in her mind much longer than the one who stays, until the conversation dies, until the silence becomes awkward, until there's nothing left to say. Always leave her wanting more. That's one of the golden rules that separates memorable guys from forgettable ones. End on a high note, don't let it fade away until it becomes that drawn-out, uninspired goodbye. Machiavelli spoke of virtù, of knowing the right moment to act, and that includes knowing the right moment to stop acting. When you master the timing of your exits, you create a pattern where each interaction with you leaves her with that feeling of, it's already over, but it was so good. Let's see how this works in practice, because theory without application is useless. You're talking, the vibe is great, you're laughing, connected, that perfect energy. What does the average guy do? He stretches it out until it dries up, until the topics become forced, until the energy starts to drop. But the strategic guy, he notices when the interaction is at its peak, and surprisingly, that's precisely when he ends it. It could be a, look, I have to go take care of some things, but it was amazing talking to you, when the conversation is still hot. Or it could be ending the date when you're still enjoying it, not when you're already tired and out of things to talk about. For example, you spent a few hours together, it was incredible, but you realize that the ideal time has passed. Instead of stretching it out until it becomes an obligation, you say, dude, I loved spending time with you, but I need to go. We'll talk soon. She's left with that I want more feeling, not with that it's finally over feeling. This subtle difference completely changes how she feels about you. And here's the most sophisticated aspect of this approach. When you consistently end interactions on a high note, you create an association where being with you is always a positive experience that leaves her wanting more. She never experiences that boredom, that saturation, that tiredness that comes from spending too much time together. Politics, guided by reality, not ideals, shows us that quality trumps quantity. 3 intense and engaging hours are infinitely more valuable than 8 lukewarm hours, where half the time you're on your phones with nothing to talk about. So you become that guy she never gets tired of, because you never stay long enough for her to get tired of you. For example, you've planned to spend the day together, but during the day you notice a perfect moment. It could be after a special activity, or after a deep conversation, or simply when the energy is at its peak. Instead of dragging it out until the end of the day as planned, you can say, "You know what? This moment is too perfect. I'm going to save this and end the day with this feeling." Sounds counterintuitive? Yes. Does it work? Absolutely. Because calculated use of force means understanding that less can be more when it comes to presence and impact. And here's something practical you can implement right now. In your next text or call conversation, notice when the energy is at its peak. It could be after a joke that made her laugh a lot, or after a moment of genuine connection, and then end it. "I have to go, but I loved this conversation. See you later." Simple as that. She'll keep thinking about you, wanting to continue, with that magnetic feeling of incompleteness. And the next in-person meeting, decisions based on real human nature mean leaving when it's still good, not when it's become routine. End it before she wants to end it, and you'll always be the guy she wants to see again, not the guy she endures until it's over. The human brain is fascinating in how it processes intense emotions. You know what's funny? Fear, excitement, anxiety, and attraction activate very similar areas of the brain. That's why horror movies work so well on dates. The adrenaline of fear mixes with the person's presence, and the brain confuses the sensations, creating attraction. And the guys who really understand the game use this masterfully. Combine satisfaction with tension, mix incredible moments with that slight uncertainty about the future, deliver pleasure but never total security. When you do this, you create an addictive emotional cocktail where she's always a little destabilized, always a little insecure, always wanting more. Machiavelli understood that virtù and fortuna need to dance together. You offer the pleasure of your presence, but maintain the uncertainty of your permanence. And it's precisely this combination that makes you irresistible in her mind. Let's break this down into practical situations, because that's where the concept becomes real power. You spend an incredible weekend together, deep connection, laughter, intimacy, those moments that seem perfect. She's on cloud 9, feeling like you're unbeatable. And then what do most guys do? They continue at that high frequency, keeping the conversation intense, wanting to replicate that moment endlessly. But the strategic guy, he lets that moment breathe. In the following days, he stays a little more distant, not too much, just enough to create a slight contrast. She goes from being completely secure about you to having a hint of doubt. Did he feel the same way I did? Was that special for him too? This tension, this slight insecurity mixed with the memory of that intense pleasure. It's addictive. Associate pleasure with a slight fear of losing you, and you create a formula where she can't stop thinking about you. For example, you surprise her with a meaningful gift or an unexpected romantic gesture. She gets emotional, connected. But instead of continuing with more gestures, you return to your normal energy, focused on your own things. The contrast between the intensity of the gesture and the normalcy that follows creates that delicious tension. And here's where it reaches its deepest level. You never make her completely comfortable, but you also never make her completely desperate. It's a delicate balance where she has moments of certainty mixed with moments of uncertainty. She knows you like her, but she never knows exactly how long or if it will last. She enjoys your presence, but also that slight anxiety about the possibility of losing it. Politics guided by reality, not ideals. shows us that totally secure and predictable relationships lose their passion quickly. It's the tension, that I don't know, that keeps things alive. For example, you say things like, "I'm really enjoying this with you," instead of, "You're the love of my life and I'm going to marry you." The first maintains that delicious space of uncertainty. Or you make short-term plans, "Next week we're going to do such and such," instead of long-term plans that give total certainty about the future. You are present, you are amazing when you are present, but you are never totally guaranteed. And here's something you can implement. The next time you have a super intense and connected moment, don't try to prolong or replicate it immediately. Let that moment be unique and special, and then return to a more normal level of interaction. She'll feel the difference and will want that intensity back. And when you deliver it again, it will be even more powerful because it's not constant. Calculated use of force means understanding that alternating doses of pleasure and uncertainty create much more impact than constant and predictable pleasure. Decisions based on real human nature show that people get addicted to controlled emotional roller coasters, not to straight, emotionless roads. There's a huge difference between always being around and showing up strategically. Most guys are afraid to distance themselves, as if a few days without contact will make her forget they exist. But the truth is exactly the opposite. It's your constant presence that makes you invisible, ordinary, guaranteed. Strategic absence at the right moment is one of the most powerful tools you have, because it forces her to miss you, to recognize the void you leave when you're not there. Make her recognize your value through absence, not abundance. Machiavelli said it's better to be feared than loved, but to avoid being hated. And here, this fear isn't about causing fear, but about creating that apprehension of losing something valuable. When you withdraw completely for a few days, not gradually, but all at once, you create a shock to her emotional system that makes her completely reassess how much you matter. Let's move to the real world, where this tactic translates into tangible results. You're in a phase where things are going well, you talk every day, you see each other regularly, but you realize she's getting too comfortable, maybe even taking you for granted, testing boundaries, acting like you'll always be there, no matter what. That's exactly when you apply the complete strategic withdrawal. It's not ghosting. You let her know you'll be focused on something important for a few days, or you simply stop initiating conversations. You don't respond with the same frequency or intensity. You're not available for dates. Suddenly, that constant presence she had simply disappears, and you know what happens in her mind: panic, questioning. What happened? Did I do something wrong? Did he lose interest? Did he meet someone else? The absence creates a vacuum that she desperately tries to fill. For example, you've been talking to her daily for weeks. Then, for 3 or 4 days, you simply don't show up. You don't text. You don't respond immediately when she texts. You are alive. You are well. You are simply present within yourself, focused on your own loyal armies, your projects, your life that doesn't revolve around her. And here's the move that transforms everything. When you return from this strategic absence, you don't come back desperate or overly explaining yourself. You come back casually, as if nothing much had happened. I was focused on some things, but hey, how are you? Simple as that. No elaborate justifications, no exaggerated apologies. And you know what that communicates? That you have a full life where she is important, but not central. That you can and will step away when necessary, not because you don't like her, but because you have priorities that sometimes come first. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, shows us that people value infinitely more what they can lose. So you put yourself in that position. You can be lost if she doesn't value your presence. And when she realizes this, when she truly feels your absence and the emptiness it creates, the whole game changes. She stops testing you, stops taking you for granted, stops acting as if you'll always be there no matter how she treats you. For example, Has she been disrespectful or negligent? Instead of verbally confronting her, you simply withdraw. Spend a week completely focused on yourself, your projects, your life. When you return, the dynamic has changed. She felt your absence, processed what may have caused it, and will probably treat you differently. And here's something you can do this month. Plan a strategic withdrawal. It could be a week where you're genuinely focused on something important, a work project, a personal goal, a period of reflection. During this time, drastically minimize contact. Don't disappear completely in a cruel way, but make it clear through your actions that you're in a different mode. Calculated use of force means understanding that your temporary absence can strengthen the relationship much more than your constant presence. Decisions based on real human nature show that when you return after this absence, she values you infinitely more because she experienced her version of life without you and didn't like it. So after everything you've seen here, the question remains, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Because look, you can close this video, go back to your routine, continue doing the same things you've always done, and have the same frustrating results you've always had. Or you can make a different decision right now. You can start applying, one by one, these tactics I've shown you. You don't need to implement everything at once. Choose one, just one of these strategies, and start testing it in your real life. It could be controlling her perception of you. It could be using emotional scarcity strategically. It could simply be learning to end interactions before she wants to. Choose one and put it into practice this week, because knowledge without action is just entertainment, not transformation. Now I want to ask you some provocative questions, and I want you to answer honestly, even if it's just for yourself. Are you tired of being predictable? Tired of being that guy she likes but isn't attracted to? Tired of seeing other guys who aren't even that great, getting what you want so badly while you're stuck in the friend zone? So tell me, what exactly are you going to change from now on? Because if you keep doing the same things, being the same guy who's too available, too predictable, too desperate for her approval, nothing will change. And in 6 months, you'll be watching another video looking for more answers when the answers are already right here in front of you. The question is, do you have the courage to apply it? Do you have the courage to be that guy who thinks strategically, who understands that politics guided by reality works better than romantic fantasies, who knows that the end justifies the means when the end is to build something real and powerful? Look, I know some of these tactics seem controversial. I know they go against what you've been taught. But think about it. Do you want to be right according to the conventional manual, or do you want real results? Because reality doesn't care about your romantic ideals. It responds to those who understand the rules of the game and play with mastery. Machiavelli was criticized for centuries for speaking inconvenient truths about power and influence. But you know what? He was right. And the princes who applied his teachings conquered kingdoms, while those who followed the conventional manual of be good and everything will work out were destroyed. The same logic applies here. So if you really want to change your game, if you want to become that guy women desire and can't forget, apply what you've learned here. Test it, adjust it, improve it, and watch how everything starts to change. And look, if you enjoyed this content and want to continue learning about real strategies that work in the real world, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell, because I'm going to continue bringing you dense, no-nonsense, straight-to-the-point content on how you can master not only relationships, but your life as a whole, using strategic principles that really work. No empty motivational talk, no cliches that lead nowhere. Just practical strategies that you can apply and see results. So subscribe now, activate notifications, and I'll see you in the next video where I'll show you even more powerful tactics. And leave a comment below. Which of these 7 tactics will you apply first? I want to know. Until next time, and remember, the game is already underway. The only question is whether you're going to play to win.